Now, when they found that ancient Greek computer thing, what is that called?
The Antikythera mechanism.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, that testifies to a lost navigational skill that we have not taken account of before.
Incredibly complex, and it took a long time for them to figure out what that even is.
Yeah.
In 1901, a group of sponge divers searching for sea sponges off the Greek island of Antikythera stumbled upon something far more significant, a 2,000-year-old shipwreck filled with artifacts. Among the haul was a corroded chunk of bronze and wood about the size of a shoebox. But what started off as a weird find spiraled into something researchers have been trying to find the answer for decades. And well, it's not good. At first, when Antikythera was found, it was overlooked, overshadowed by statues and gold. But in 1902, an archaeologist named Valerio Stice noticed something unusual: gears. Not just one or two, but an intricate system of them, packed inside what would later be called the Antikythera mechanism. For decades, scientists were baffled by it. It looked like a mechanical device, but nothing like it had been seen in the ancient world. The idea that the Greeks had built a functional analog computer over 2,000 years ago was unthinkable. It wasn't until X-ray scans and modern reconstructions were done in the early 2000s that the true nature of the device was revealed. The mechanism was designed to predict astronomical events with extreme accuracy, tracking the movements of the sun, moon, and planets. It could even predict eclipses and the Olympic Games cycle. So why is solving this mystery not good? Because nothing like it was ever seen again. The knowledge behind it vanished, and for over 1,000 years, humanity never recreated anything as advanced. So science and technology don't always move forward. They can be lost. This isn't just a story about an ancient machine. It's a warning about how easily knowledge can disappear. The shipwreck's contents suggest the mechanism may have belonged to a wealthy individual or scholar, possibly used for navigation or astronomical calculations. But the fact that it was found in fragments, with no records of its existence, raises unsettling questions. Did the Greeks build more? Was this technology wiped out by war, the fall of civilizations, or something else? Well, if there's one person willing to really dig deep into it, it's Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan and Graham Hancock's discussion on the Antikythera mechanism took a deep dive into what this ancient device really represents. Rogan brought it up first, calling it an ancient Greek computer thing.
When they found that ancient Greek computer thing, what is that called?
The Antikythera mechanism.
And Hancock quickly confirmed its name, explaining that it testifies to a lost navigational skill we've largely overlooked.
Again, that testifies to a lost navigational skill that we have not taken account of before.
The conversation quickly shifted to what the mechanism actually does, with Hancock emphasizing that it wasn't just a random artifact, but a fully functional, gear-driven system designed to track planetary movements. He suggested it may have been a navigational device, possibly helping ancient sailors determine their location based on celestial positions.
It tracks the movements of the planets. It's a navigational device. It's a geared, cogged system that allows you to track the passage of time and figure out where you are. It's some kind of navigational device. It's not fully understood.
When Rogan asked how old it was, Hancock guessed around 500 BCE, though most experts place it closer to 150 BCE. But the exact date wasn't his main focus. His bigger argument was that something this advanced doesn't just appear out of nowhere. If the Greeks had built something so intricate, there had to have been more. The knowledge and craftsmanship behind it couldn't have been limited to a single device. This led Hancock to a theory that intrigued Rogan even more. What if this was secret technology? Hancock proposed that Greek ship owners and navigators might have kept this device hidden from the public, much like how modern governments classified military technology. He compared it to nuclear power, explaining that certain advancements aren't meant for widespread knowledge, especially if they offer a strategic advantage. If the Antikythera mechanism was used for navigation, it would have given its owners a significant edge over competitors, possibly explaining why no similar devices have ever been found. Maybe this wasn't just a lost invention, maybe it was deliberately kept from reaching the broader public. From there, Hancock pivoted to one of his core ideas. Mainstream history only tells the front story, the polished version version of human progress that fits neatly into textbooks. But he argues that there's a backstory we've barely begun to uncover, a legacy of knowledge that once existed but has since disappeared. To him, the Antikythera mechanism is more than just a fascinating artifact. It's a clue that civilization may have been far more advanced than we've been taught. Rogan was clearly hooked. He kept reacting in his usual wide-eyed style.
Recreation. Wow. Like it, yeah.
Can you buy one of those?
Dropping his signature. That's insane, man. As Hancock laid out his theories, he was especially struck by the fact that after this mechanism, nothing remotely as complex showed up for over 1,000 years. That alone was enough to make him question whether we've been missing something huge. At one point, he even bookmarked a modern recreation of the device, joking that they needed one for themselves.
It looks like you buy that. Dude, bookmark that. We need one right there.
The conversation wasn't just about the device itself. It was about what its existence means for our understanding of history. If something this advanced could vanish, what else has been lost? And more importantly, what don't we know? But while we're at it, what do we know? Built over 2,000 years ago, the Antikythera mechanism wasn't just an astronomical calculator. It was an engineering marvel that could predict celestial events with a level of accuracy that wouldn't be seen again for more than 1,000 years. It raises unsettling questions about the technological capabilities of ancient civilizations and whether progress is really as linear as we first assumed it was. Scientists went as far as to conduct a whole CT scan of it to figure out what the inside of it looked like, and they found a lot. At the heart of the device is a hand-cranked system of at least 30 interlocking bronze gears, each one precisely cut to mimic the motion of the sun, moon, and planets. When the crank was turned, the mechanism simulated the movement of celestial bodies, allowing its user to track the cycles of the heavens with astonishing precision. To build something this advanced, the Greeks had to combine their own mathematical knowledge with Babylonian astronomical calculations, meaning they were working with an understanding of planetary motion that was supposedly centuries ahead of its time. On the front of the device, a calendar display featured zodiac signs and time markings, letting users align the passing of days, months, and years with astronomical cycles. This wasn't just for tracking the stars. It was likely used for navigation, agricultural planning, and even religious ceremonies. Meanwhile, on the back, an even more advanced system of dials mapped out the lunar cycle, showing the phases of the moon and predicting eclipses. What makes this even more astonishing is that the mechanism accounted for the moon's irregular orbit, something modern science only fully grasped in the last few centuries. How did they know this? And more importantly, what other knowledge has been lost? One of the most surprising features of the Antikythera mechanism was its ability to track the 4-year cycle of the Olympic Games. This suggests that its purpose extended beyond science and into the realm of culture and tradition. The ancient Greeks didn't just use astronomy for practical purposes, they also tied it to their most sacred and celebrated events. This raises an even bigger question. If they were able to construct a device this complex, were there more like it? Was this part of a larger, now lost tradition of engineering, or was it an isolated achievement? Despite everything we now understand about the Antikythera mechanism, the most unsettling fact remains. After this device, nothing similar was seen again for over 1,000 years. Historians agree that a device of this complexity doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It had to have come from a long tradition of mechanical innovation, and yet no other example of this technology exists. The researchers that found it in the first place even went back to see if they could learn anything else about it. Anything. The knowledge that created it disappeared, setting back mechanical engineering by centuries. If this level of sophistication had continued to develop, humanity's scientific progress could have accelerated dramatically, potentially leading to an earlier industrial revolution. Instead, the mechanism remained forgotten, buried at the bottom of the sea. Whatever civilization built it lost the knowledge behind it, whether because of war, conquest, or deliberate suppression. The fact that such advanced engineering was achieved only to vanish entirely from history, raises the disturbing possibility that other ancient breakthroughs have been lost as well. How many other pieces of knowledge, ones that could have changed history, were simply wiped away? If the Antikythera mechanism is just one example of a forgotten technology, what else might be missing from the story of human civilization? Like the Klerksdorp spheres. In South Africa, deep within Precambrian rock formations that date back over 3 billion years, researchers have found something that shouldn't exist. Perfectly round metallic spheres with precisely carved grooves running along their surfaces. These objects, known as the Klerksdorp spheres, have ignited debate among scientists, historians, and conspiracy theorists alike. How did something that appears mechanically precise end up embedded in rock that predates all known intelligent life on Earth? Some researchers argue that these spheres are nothing more than natural formations, known as concretions, which are created when minerals accumulate around a central core over millions of years. But skeptics aren't convinced. The spheres are too perfect. They have grooves that run around them in ways that don't resemble any naturally occurring process. Some even have 3 parallel grooves forming what looks like deliberate engraving. How could geological processes create something that looks almost manufactured? The mystery only deepens when you look at the material composition. Some of these spheres are made of pyrophyllite, a relatively soft mineral, while others are composed of a hard alloy that is significantly tougher than the surrounding rock, leading some to speculate that they were placed there after the rock formed, which should be impossible given the dating. If they were created by an unknown ancient civilization, that civilization would have existed billions of years before humans were even a concept. Some people who have handled the spheres claim they spin on their own inside locked display cases, as if responding to unseen forces. Scientists have largely dismissed this as an illusion, but it hasn't stopped people from wondering if the spheres have unknown electromagnetic properties that we don't fully understand. In an attempt to settle the debate, some researchers have sliced open the spheres to analyze their interiors. As seen in the video Opening Klerksdorp Spheres and Moki Marbles, the spheres are filled with compressed sand and minerals, suggesting that they formed naturally under extreme heat and pressure. However, this still doesn't explain why some of them appear to have perfectly symmetrical grooves, nor does it explain why certain specimens are made of metal that doesn't match the surrounding environment. If these objects are natural, then they are some of the strangest formations ever found on Earth. But if they are artificial, they force us to confront an unsettling possibility that some kind of advanced intelligence existed on this planet long before humans. Are they evidence of a lost civilization, an ancient machine part, or even artifacts left behind by non-human visitors? The truth remains buried, just like the spheres themselves. But sometimes, these strange things are out in the open, and we still can't figure them out. Take the ringing stones of Montana, for example. Scattered across the wild landscapes of Montana, a collection of mysterious boulders produces bell-like tones when struck, known as the ringing rocks. These stones have baffled scientists for decades. Unlike ordinary rocks, which produce dull thuds when hit, these stones chime like metal bells, creating an eerie, almost musical effect. Even stranger, if you remove one from its location, it immediately stops ringing, as if the magic only works when the stones remain together. Geologists have attempted to explain the phenomenon by pointing to the composition of the rocks, which contain a high concentration of iron and other resonant minerals. Some believe that the unique way the stones are stacked creates vibrations that allow them to ring, similar to the way a tuning fork works. However, no one has successfully recreated the effect in a lab, and removing individual stones completely kills their ability to produce sound. This has led to speculation that the rock's placement is just as important as their composition, which raises an even bigger mystery. Were they deliberately arranged? Some legends suggest that indigenous tribes knew about the stones and used them for ritualistic purposes. Others believe they could be a natural sound system left behind by an unknown civilization that once understood Earth's frequencies in ways we no longer do. too. There's even a theory that these stones are naturally tuned to the Earth's vibrations, possibly acting as ancient seismic detectors. One of the strangest aspects of Montana's ringing stones is that similar formations have been found in Russia, Australia, and the Ural Mountains, all displaying the same eerie ability to chime when struck. This has led some researchers to wonder if these locations were once connected, or if the stones were somehow placed intentionally across the world for an unknown purpose. Are the ringing stones just a geological curiosity, or are they part of a lost ancient understanding of sound, frequency, and vibration? If scientists still can't explain why they only ring in their original locations, then maybe we're missing something much bigger, something that hints at a forgotten relationship between humans, Earth, and sound itself. But that's not as crazy as a book from another reality. For over 600 years, the Voynich manuscript has refused to give up its secrets. A book filled with indecipherable text, drawings of impossible plants, and astronomical diagrams that don't match our sky. It remains one of the most frustrating mysteries in history. Despite modern AI, military codebreakers, and the world's best cryptographers taking a shot at it, no one has ever managed to read a single sentence. Discovered in 1912 by rare book dealer Wilfred Voynich, the manuscript is believed to date back to the 1400s. It consists of 240 pages of handwritten script, complete with elaborate botanical illustrations, astrological charts, and sketches of bizarre, unknown organisms. The problem: the language used in the text has never been seen before. It has no connection to any known human dialect, ancient or modern. Some researchers argue that it follows the mathematical patterns of real languages, yet no one has been able to match it to anything that exists. Even the plants depicted in the book are a mystery. Not a single one matches any known species on Earth. The astronomical diagrams don't line up with known celestial formations, making it impossible to determine what they were tracking. Some pages even show human-like figures interacting with strange tubes and liquid-filled chambers, leading to theories that it could be an alchemical text, an ancient medical guide, or something even stranger. Theories about its origins are endless. Some believe it's a scientific document from a lost civilization. Others suspect it's a hoax created in the Middle Ages to scam wealthy collectors. But if that were the case, why does the text follow the natural structure of a real language? A hoax would have fallen apart under statistical analysis, yet every test suggests this was written with a purpose, just one we can't understand. One of the strangest theories suggests the manuscript wasn't written for humans at all. Could it be a record from an alternate civilization? A book from a parallel reality where different plant life and celestial arrangements exist? Some have even suggested it might be an ancient extraterrestrial text left behind as a relic of contact we don't remember. Whatever the truth is, the Voynich manuscript refuses to be deciphered. It could be a forgotten branch of human knowledge, or something that challenges everything we think we know about history. Until we crack the code, it remains one of the most mysterious artifacts ever discovered. Close to the Atacama alien, in 2003, a tiny 6-inch skeleton was discovered in the Atacama Desert of Chile, buried in a remote and desolate area. Unlike any human remains ever found, the skeleton, later dubbed Ata, had an elongated skull, large eye sockets, and an unusual rib count, leading to speculation that it could be something other than human. From the moment it was unearthed, its strange proportions ignited fierce debate among researchers, UFO theorists, and geneticists. One of the most unsettling details about Ata was its seemingly well-developed bone structure. Typically, if a skeleton this small belonged to a fetus or a stillborn child, the bones would be less defined and far more fragile. Yet, Ada's bones appeared to have developed as if the being had lived for years, an anomaly that scientists struggled to explain. The elongated skull in particular drew comparisons to ancient cranial deformation practices, but experts quickly noted that the skull shape was natural, not the result of binding or modification. When Stanford University researchers conducted DNA analysis, they confirmed that Ada's genetic material was human, but with unusual mutations. The findings, published in 2018, suggested that the skeleton had mutations linked to dwarfism, scoliosis, and other bone-related conditions. However, even with with these explanations, some details didn't quite add up. The combination of bone density, skull shape, and proportional abnormalities made Atta unlike any other known case of genetic mutation. Some scientists argue that Atta was a fetus with severe congenital disorders, but that theory doesn't satisfy everyone. Others believe it could be evidence of an unknown human lineage or hybrid being, one that existed in the remote deserts of Chile before mysteriously vanishing. A more extreme theory suggests that Atta was part of an undisclosed genetic experiment, one that resulted in an unknown human variation that was buried and forgotten. Despite extensive research, Atta remains an unsolved mystery. Its origins, condition, and unusual development leave room for speculation. While mainstream scientists claim that genetic defects explained its appearance, the fact that it doesn't fully match any known medical condition keeps the mystery alive. Whether Atta is proof of an unknown human mutation, a lost species, or something even stranger, one thing is certain: this tiny skeleton has challenged the limits of what we understand about human biology. Speaking of biology, the giant hand of the Atacama. In the Atacama Desert of Chile, a massive 36-foot-tall hand reaches out of the earth, an eerie structure that has ignited speculation about its origins. Officially called the Mano del Desierto, or Hand of the Desert, it is widely recognized as an art installation created by Chilean sculptor Mario Irarrázaval in 1992. Constructed from concrete and iron, the sculpture is said to symbolize human vulnerability, suffering, and isolation. However, its remote location, massive scale, and unsettling presence have led to theories that something far stranger may be hidden beneath the surface. While the Mano del Desierto is a documented work of art, rumors persist about a very different kind of hand, one that wasn't built, but discovered. According to stories circulating for years, an actual fossilized giant hand was supposedly unearthed in the Atacama, twice the size of a normal human's, with bones that don't match any known species. Unlike the well-known sculpture, this supposed discovery has no official documentation, no confirmed images, and no scientific research backing it. However, believers argue that the Atacama region is already home to some of the strangest findings in the world, lending credibility to the idea that something unusual could be hidden in its sands. One such discovery is the infamous Atacama skeleton, a 6-inch humanoid with an elongated skull, found in 2003. Its origins baffled researchers for years, with some believing it to be an alien or hybrid being, while others pointed to genetic anomalies. If something as bizarre as Ada could be real, could the stories of a giant fossilized hand have some truth as well? The idea of ancient giants has existed in legends across cultures, from the Nephilim of biblical texts to myths from South America and Africa. Some researchers believe scattered archaeological finds suggest that giant beings once coexisted with early humans. Could the fossilized hand of the Atacama be evidence of this forgotten chapter of history? Kinda how we forgot about the Black Knight satellite. For decades, an unidentified object has been tracked in Earth's orbit, starting theories that it could be a 13,000-year-old alien probe watching over us. Known as the Black Knight satellite, this mysterious anomaly has been picked up by NASA, military radar, and astronomers since at least the mid-20th century. While some believe it's nothing more than space debris or a lost Soviet satellite, others insist that it predates human spaceflight entirely, making it one of the most unsettling space mysteries of all time. The legend of the Black Knight satellite dates back to the 1950s, when military radars allegedly detected an object orbiting in polar orbit, something that no known satellites at the time were capable of doing. Unlike Earth's natural satellites, which tend to orbit in an equatorial pattern, a polar orbit allows for full surveillance of the planet, leading some to speculate that this object was intentionally placed there for observation. In 1960, the U.S. Navy detected a dark, unknown object orbiting Earth, causing concern that the Soviet Union had launched an advanced satellite. However, no country claimed ownership of it. Then, in 1998, During NASA's STS-88 Space Shuttle Endeavour mission, astronauts captured a series of photographs of what appeared to be a dark, oddly shaped object in orbit. NASA later dismissed it as a thermal blanket that had come loose from a satellite, but many weren't convinced. The images only led to even more conspiracy theories, with some believing NASA was covering up something far more significant. One of the most bizarre claims is that radio signals from the Black Knight were picked up as early as the 1920s, when Norwegian engineer Jørgen Hals reported strange, repeating signals bouncing back from space. Some believe these were intelligent transmissions, possibly from an unknown satellite trying to make contact. Could the Black Knight satellite be an ancient relic from a lost civilization? A probe from an extraterrestrial race? Or is it nothing more than a mix of misidentified space junk and overactive imaginations? Until conclusive evidence is found, the mystery of the Black Knight satellite remains unsolved, keeping speculation alive about what might be watching us from above. The Lake Baikal Lights, underwater UFOs. Lake Baikal, located in Siberia, Russia, is not only the deepest and oldest freshwater lake in the world, reaching depths of over 1,600 meters and dating back 25 million years, but it is also one of the most mysterious. For decades, it has been the site of bizarre UFO sightings, glowing underwater anomalies, and unexplained encounters with humanoid beings. Soviet military reports and local eyewitness accounts suggest that something unusual lurks in its vast, unexplored depths. One of the most infamous incidents occurred in 1982, when a team of 7 Soviet Navy divers reported an encounter with strange, humanoid beings during a routine training exercise. The divers claimed they came across 3-meter-tall figures, clad in silver suits, floating beneath the water without any visible diving equipment. When the team attempted to capture one of the beings, they were suddenly propelled to the surface by an unseen force, causing 3 of them to die from decompression sickness because of the rapid ascent. The remaining divers were rushed to treatment, and the Soviet government allegedly classified the incident. Beyond these chilling accounts, Lake Baikal has long been associated with UFO sightings. In 2016, locals near the lake witnessed a glowing object moving slowly across the sky, with experts noting its movement was too slow for a typical meteorite. Fishermen and nearby residents have also reported mysterious lights beneath the water, moving in ways that suggest controlled movement rather than natural phenomena. In 2009, the Russian Navy declassified Soviet-era documents, revealing that many Cold War-era UFO encounters occurred near large bodies of water, including Lake Baikal. These reports only deepened speculation that the lake may hide something unknown beneath its surface. While skeptics argue that these encounters could be misidentified natural phenomena, there is little doubt that Lake Baikal has an unusual history. Some claim that the humanoid sightings were mistaken encounters with undiscovered aquatic creatures, while others insist that they are evidence of a secret underwater civilization or extraterrestrial presence. The lake has also been tied to local folklore, with indigenous legends describing mysterious beings living beneath its waters, stories that date back centuries. Despite attempts to dismiss these claims, the Russian government has never fully explained the reports of underwater humanoid encounters, glowing objects, or strange military experiences. What could be the real truth behind all this?